Good day, this is Russell Hawley coming to you from the Tate Geological Museum in Casper, Wyoming. And today I'm going to be talking a bit about Brontotheres. And this story goes back to the 1870s, 1880s, when the Yale paleontologist Othniel Charles Marsh was digging around in South Dakota, Nebraska, and Wyoming, looking for the bones of dinosaurs and also of ancient mammals as well. Now, Marsh got along very well with the Indians, and in particular the Oglala Sioux. He was always pushing for better treatment of the Indians, better food and blankets and things like that. And so as a result, they cooperated with him. And at one point they were telling him the story of the thunder horses. They said that there were creatures that lived up among the clouds called thunder horses. When it rained, they'd jump off the clouds and crash into the ground, and that's what created the sound of thunder, and so they called these thunder horses. And Marsh said, oh, that's interesting. How do you know they actually exist? And the Sioux told him, well, after a big rainstorm, we find these big bones weathering out of hillsides and riverbanks, and they're very big bones, so they obviously belong to big animals, and they're the bones of thunder horses. Naturally, Marsh said, well, show me some, and they took him to where the bones were weathering out, and eventually he assembled enough bones to put together a complete skeleton, and they turned out to be gigantic 3-ton animals, kind of like a cross between a horse and a rhinoceros. And they were named Brontotheres, which means thunder beast. So the name of this group of ancient creatures is derived from that Native American folklore, which is kind of cool. They are very widespread throughout Western North America, and also they're found in Europe and Asia from throughout most of the Eocene epoch of Earth's geological history. This is one of the bones of the limb. This is probably a distal fibula or ulna, very large on this critter. Here's a vertebra from a relatively small brontothere. You can see the transverse processes in the centrum right down here. And of course, as with most fossil mammals, the most abundant brontothere fossils are teeth. So here's a cusp coming off of one of these teeth. Here's a fragment of another tooth showing you the characteristic W-shaped ridges or loafs that help you identify them. The full-sized rear molar teeth on a brontothere are about the size of a human fist. Now, here in this display case, we've got the skull of a brontothere. That's the eye socket right there. So these would have been very peculiar looking creatures with the eye way, way, way forward on the head, not too far behind the nostril. On the snout was a pair of lumps of bone, not horns, but rather bone lumps covered with skin, very much like the ossicones that you find on the top of the head of a giraffe. So on this variety, we've got two of those side by side, and then this shelf of bone goes over the nose. So the soft tissues of the nose would go right under there. And we can see the row of molar teeth here, and then a large canine tusk here in the front. Now I've drawn a picture of what the brontothere may have looked like when it was alive. So there it is, all fleshed out, and there's where the eye goes. Then there's those skin-covered ossicones in front. That shelf of bone right there would have the soft tissues of the nose underneath it like that. And although the Native Americans had no way of knowing it, these do turn out to be distantly related to horses, certainly closer than they are to anything else in the world today.